During the pentagram rite, the heady feeling built up, and there was a sense of the air getting thicker above. During the first set of vibrations, I saw a bright, but not as bright as a light, red spike. Then, in the north, I saw a pomegranate tree. In the west, to the right and left of the mirror, about mid-height, I saw purple dodecahedrons. I saw many pink sparks scattered about. The ground became metallic red. There was an orange mist, or particles spaced out, that was seen in the blackness of shadows that extended more than we can see on camera here. During the final reading, the euphoria went down me, and I felt a presence in the southeast. And in the final scrying, I saw something glowing, not very brightly, concealed in darkness, that was purple in the world of the mirror. I felt another euphoric blast scour down me with its analgesia, loosening me up, relieving all pain and stiffness and opening air passages, all that sort of stuff. But before that, there was a buildup of the buzzy feeling. And one of the things about that is it maintains itself to a degree as I relate. Some things are not quite rightly interpreted, but in general, they are. Because I do think that there is indicators pointing towards Islam. The originator of the law would not be a reference to Muhammad, but the Sharia would be the Shariatullah, God's law, God's middle path. And so there's a couple references, and people say, oh, well, if they use the term Sharia in the reference, well, wouldn't they have known? It's like, no, it wasn't the technical Sharia, Hadith, Sunnah, bunch of stuff wasn't the technical term reserved for religion or one religion that, people think that they are now, are used them as such. That's why there's so much confusion with doctrine. It's because whose tradition, who's saying, whose preferred law, right? Now, we're going to see signs in our lives about what our purpose is going to be on an individual level. We do need to study the objective sciences. We need to start young if we can. In the second chapter, we are reminded about the precession of the equinoxes. About every 72 years, things shift a degree. A lot of what puts mainstream astrology to the ridicule is the fact that they get the basic structure that they are interpreting wrong. So first, there's those patterns up there in the sky, and there's those divisions. We can think of the implied references of forms with the particular stars and planets, and the qualities being referenced to infancy, childhood, youth, maturity, and being elderly. There's that hot, warm, cool, cold, wet, dry, sort of divisions like that. A person can think of what moves swifter through the heavens, as far as our perception, and what's earlier or later, and that will determine what is right-handed or left-handed operations to work. There's talk about, planetary hours and positions and such to decide when to make things, what ascends and descends. There aren't really fixed stars, as we've indicated, but we can think of the points that indicate the solstices, the equinoxes, and those cross quarters in between. Then we think of how there are beings that have respite. They're not born or died in our sense or according to our cycles from this physically incarnate point of view. Binary figures are important to understand in terms of interpretation, and by that I mean like 2 dots or 1 dot on a line sort of stuff. Sometimes it's more about one's use of words. Sometimes it's more about learning from sleep or meditation. I don't know why it is strength going ahead to a further sign and that sort of stuff, as far as what people see in the sky as the evil sign or strength. The good sign. That sort of stuff. That wouldn't you think strength goes ahead and that's the good sign rather than the other way around? When plants and other objects are attributed to certain arrangements or signs, then the connection to that magic is stronger and perhaps affected in a way that would not otherwise be affected. People need to be able to distinguish between quantity and quality, connecting one thing and another and their relationships. And then we have some ideas on symbols that can be used. Some of these seem rather alphabetic or basic in that sense. And then that is connected to, the mineral involved. Admittingly, some of these are very interesting looking symbols. And then chapter 11 of book 33, book 2, is we have some descriptions that make you think of tarot cards in terms of, it's a symbolic image, but then again, maybe it's not just a symbolic image, it's what really the entities of such and such tend to, be thought of. Now, you can tell by some of the forms that we're not always dealing with what you'd call pious entities, because the entities that show themselves naked to you are, there's a person's spouse or something, but you know what I mean. But what a spirit, wants to moon you or show you the front or whatever, it's not a pious entity. Pay attention to what they wear or how they dress or whatever. If certain entities, make their appearance before you. And of course, you may not get everything that you need to continue the working in what the entities end up showing you. So you should probably try to develop or look up something about the numbers and the contexts, referring to particular directions, particular entities, all that sort of stuff. And of course, it's not just the wheel of the zodiac, it's where the wheel of the zodiac is compared to the houses. Again, 12 divisions perfectly, which, kind of shifts throughout the year in terms of its relationship to the zodiac. We need to be able to approach things both in an Apollonian sort of way and a Dionysian sort of way. How are we going to connect our own structures of existence to the structures of meanings?